Hi guys, Mr. Polley here. So before we jump into our book, let me remind you that you can find my videos either on my YouTube channel where you can find everything that's posted, or you can go to your Google Classroom where you should find new videos posted on Mondays. And that should continue during the Easter holiday as well, because I want to make sure that you keep up to date with your reading. Okie dokie. So this week we're going to look at a non-fiction book again, and this one is called Time Detectives. And it is written by Robin O'Sullivan. So this is actually a non-fiction book. It's an information book. And now, unlike the Galileo book, it is not a story, it is an information book. So we've looked at some of the ones in the series before, and if you remember at the beginning, it has a contents page which has a list of the different chapters and which pages you can find them on, and then at the back it has an index which lists all the topics and keywords in the book and which pages you can find them on. So I think, because this is a very long book with a lot of writing in it, we're just going to read the introduction, and we're going to read chapter 3, which is about ancient Egypt, because pyramids are cool. Okay, so chapter 1, Puzzles of the Past. Detectives find out information and try to solve puzzles. Crime detectives look for evidence of what happened. And to do this, they ask questions, examine the crime scene, and use technology. Did you know there's another kind of detective? Time detectives solve the puzzles of the past. They find information about life on Earth, who and what lived where and when. You might wonder how time detectives can find information about things that happened thousands or millions of years ago. Paleontologists are time detectives. They study fossils and find out about the history of life on Earth. The most common fossils are bones, shells, and imprints. An imprint might be a footprint or the outline of an animal or plant on rock or wood. Archaeologists are time detectives too. They study human remains and how the things people made to find out how people lived. The objects that have been made by humans are called artifacts. Time detectives have solved many puzzles from the past. This timeline shows some places where archaeologists and paleontologists have studied fossils and artifacts to learn about who or what lived in these places. So here we have two key terms here. We have the term paleontologist and archaeologists. These are both jobs, and they're both very similar. Now, a paleontologist studies fossils. They study animals and plants from the past. So if you want to study dinosaurs, because you're not looking at people, you're looking at animals, you're a paleontologist. Archaeologists are similar, except instead of studying animals and plants, they study humans and human society. So archaeologists, humans; paleontologists, not humans. Easy way to remember. So at the bottom of the page here we have a timeline. So with the timeline we'll start on the left, the longest time ago, coming to forwards, the most recent. Okay, so timeline should go from left to right, from oldest to newest. So let's have a look. Dinosaur fossils, 560 million years old, were found in Australia. Dinosaur fossils, Hypsilophodon, 120 million years old, were found in the United Kingdom. In the Rift Valley of Africa, archaeologists found human fossils that are 3 million years old. So these look like the oldest human fossils that are found on here, and it's archaeologists because they're human remains. At Lake Mungo in Australia, archaeologists found human bones that are about 40,000 years old. The ruins of a Puebloan culture reveal the existence of the Anasazi people who lived around the Four Corners area of the United States near Utah about 10,000 years ago. Honestly, I'm not sure about how to pronounce this. I don't think this is an English word, so it would not follow English patterns. If you're interested, maybe you could look up the pronunciation and let me know. It's Puebloan. The Egyptian pyramids are about 5,000 years old. They contain information about the ancient Egyptian way of life. Stonehenge is a prehistoric monument in the United Kingdom that was created over 4,000 years ago. In 1974, over 8,000 life-size statues were found buried in an emperor's tomb in China. These statues are about 2,200 years old, though these are in Xi'an in China, and they're called the Terracotta Warriors, or Terracotta Army. They were built to guard somebody's grave. Pompeii is a town that was buried by volcanic ash in AD 79. Archaeologists studied the artifacts found at Pompeii to learn about the people who lived there. So this is the first one that follows our current year convention, our year names. This one is in the year 79. So if you think we're in 2021 now, at least at the time of recording, year 79 is quite a long time ago. Machu Picchu was an Incan city over 600 years ago. Archaeologists learn about who lived there by examining the ruins of the city. I love that word, Machu Picchu. So I wanted to go to chapter 3. Can you remember what page it was on? 10. So this page is about ancient Egypt. This chapter, sorry. In ancient times, Egypt was the richest and most powerful country in the world. The ancient Egyptian civilization lasted for about 3,500 years. Do you know where Egypt is? It's actually in North Africa. Fantastic pharaohs. Now, something to remember when we're reading about this, PH is pronounced, okay? Egyptian kings were called pharaohs. They built enormous tombs for when they died. These tombs are called pyramids. The pyramids had many rooms that were filled with everything the pharaoh would need for the afterlife. In the heart of the pyramid was a special room lined with gold where the pharaohs were buried. Archaeologists know how the pharaohs looked from studying the pictures on the walls inside the pyramids. These pictures showed the pharaohs with shoes made of gold and crowns that were 30 centimeters high. Some wore white clothes with huge jeweled collars, and some had cones of wax on their hair and bold makeup on their eyes. So let's read some of these fact boxes down here, shall we? So here's some afterlife facts. Ancient Egyptians believed that after you died, you had another life, the afterlife. They believed that to have an afterlife, the dead person's heart must be full of goodness. The heart was weighed by the goddess Ma'at on the scales of truth and justice. If the person had led a good life, their heart would weigh less than the goddess's feather, and they could go on to the afterlife. People had to take everything with them to the afterlife, so their tombs were filled with all the things needed for living, as well as tools for working. Buried treasures. Items found in ancient Egyptian pyramids included, and remember these are the things that the pharaohs thought they would need to take with them to the afterlife: wooden and ivory toys, board games, dice carved from stone or ivory, harps and flutes, food, gold, silver and jewellery, boats and tools, statues of slaves and animals, clothes, wigs, perfume and makeup, time detectives at work. Archaeologists solved many puzzles about daily life in ancient Egypt when they examined pyramids in Egypt. The pyramids revealed what ancient Egyptians ate, the games they played, how they dressed, and many other aspects of Egyptian life. The ancient Egyptians invented a form of picture writing called hieroglyphics. Use the table below to write your name in Egyptian hieroglyphics. So look, they didn't use A to Z like we use in English, nor did they use ideograms like they use in Chinese. Instead, they have these pictures here, which are, as you just heard, called hieroglyphics. Now, they're all different kinds of strange pictures like this. And for a very long time, people didn't know what the hieroglyphics stood for. They had no way of translating them because they'd never seen anything like it before. Until one year they discovered something which we call the Rosetta Stone, which had a small bit of writing in hieroglyphics, but also in a language that we already knew how to read. So from that, linguists and linguistic historians, who are people who study languages, were able to take those hieroglyphics, translate them into another language, and then use that to make a working picture of how we think that hieroglyphics, what they stood for, how we think they were used. Secrets of a Civilization, a report by archaeology student Shane Cobb. So let's see what she has to say in her report here. The discovery of the tombs inside the pyramids revealed information about the ancient Egyptian way of living. The tombs were filled with everyday items that the pharaohs used, as well as chariots and boats that the pharaohs needed for transportation. Chariots are like carts that were pulled by horses. There were statues of servants to do the pharaoh's work in the afterlife, and tools and household items that they needed. Paintings of daily life on the tomb wall show people farming the land, boats on the Nile River, and people playing music and dancing. From looking inside the tomb, we discovered many facts about how people lived and worked in ancient Egypt. Archaeologists are still unsure about how the pyramids were built. Some experts think that a ramp was built up to the base of the pyramid and extended as the pyramid was built. The workers might have pulled the huge blocks to the ramp on rollers, then up the ramps on sleds. They probably used papyrus ropes, pulleys, and levers to lift the blocks of stone into position. It is remarkable that these huge structures could have been built without modern machinery. So let's have a look at these captions first. So here, this is a painting from, I presume, one of the walls of the pyramids. This painting of workers dragging building blocks dates from 1000 BC, so that's around 3000 years ago. And here we have some of the hieroglyphics here. Now you might notice some of the hieroglyphics are a little bit different to the one on the previous page, and actually what's so difficult about hieroglyphics is that actually they changed over time. Even with this, it's not as simple as translating it into A to Z, is it? If we translate this into our A to Z, it's not going to say the people on here just pulled the blocks of stone up to build the pyramids. It's not going to say that, is it? It's even going to be in a different language. And, look! You see where the lines are on this page? Think about when we're writing in English. We have our lines going across the paper because we read from left to right. These lines go down like this. They go up and down the page. So how do we read this? Do we read it? We definitely don't read it from left to right, otherwise the lines would be there. But do we read it from bottom to top or top to bottom? And then, do we read it from right to left or from left to right? All of the different languages around the world have a different way of reading it. So when the people have been long dead for 3000 years, there's nobody to ask, hey, can you read this for me, is there? So here's some more details from the carvings on tomb walls. Now these are especially fascinating because these ones, fascinating means very, very interesting. See, as you can see, I'm quite interested by this. These ones are just paintings, but these ones have actually been carved into the walls of stone. So people got like a chisel and a hammer and knocked out the bits of stone to make these so that they stand out from the wall. And it's very likely, as you can see here, that they would have had very, very vivid, colourful paintings on them, that they faded over time. But think about it. If you're painting and carving onto stone, one little mistake and it's going to be there for 3000 years. Look at the writing on the wall here. This writing is much more beautiful than the writing down here, I think. Do you think your handwriting is beautiful enough to be put on a stone wall for 3000 years? Maybe we should all start practicing, right? So let's read some facts about the Great Pyramid. The Great Pyramid at Giza is the largest pyramid in Egypt. Experts can't say exactly how many years it took to build or how many workers were needed. Here are some estimates. Built around 4,500 years ago. Height. At the time of construction it was 147 meters. Number of blocks used, approximately 2,300,000. Weight of blocks. Most weighed between 1 and 4 tons, but as some were as much as 72 tons. That is, I would say, modern cars, probably about 100 cars. That's how heavy it was. Not even Iron Man can lift that heavier block. Number of workers, anywhere between 30,000 and 100,000. Our school has, around 350 students? What they use? Tools such as levers, ramps, rollers and pulleys. Okay, so I think that's probably enough of this book for today. So there's loads of really interesting things that we can learn from books like this and from history like this as well. And I hope you can see that there are lots and lots of people involved with these historical things, and all of your subjects that you're studying in school or will study at secondary school later will tie together about so that you can do the things you're interested in or learn about them. So we have historical linguists who are learning about ancient languages. We have some ideas about the engineering that they used to build the pyramids. So that's the things that you'll learn about in GS at the moment, and then science later. We have things about the everyday life. Now they will probably bring in experts about that as well. So all of these different things that we study will have some use later. All of these things are super, super interesting. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know in the Google Classroom comments what you found interesting in this book, or if you have any other interesting facts about the ancient Egyptians. I would love to hear from you. Bye guys, I hope you're enjoying your holiday.